Well, no, I don't want to tell you. You might offer him
I
something
literally
better.
can't offer a captain. I'm not in this.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. You
Really?
can't offer a captain. Yeah, you're out of
Hello,
his trade
everyone.
market.
Welcome
I
back
offered
to
him.
Did
the
you
Well,
also
everyone else
Waluigi
is here,
Boo?
right?
I offered him
Let us
No, I
finish.
offered him Waluigi and Daisy for Boo and Greed Drybones, which I thought
We're
was
going to be
pretty
bringing
fair.
in
Honestly, I
Baltor.
thought
We're
that
going to
was
be
a
bringing in
That's
wonderful.
not
Vickless
bad.
Falcon.
I
We
think
got
that's
everyone here.
That's
I
actually
think
not
ready
bad.
to
gonna be hard for him to find a better
break
offer for a
down
captain.
Chris,
Chris, is there anything that stands out on my
crunching
team?
some
I feel like
numbers
there
here
might
off the
be.
stream.
I just sent
Heard of.
you an invoice. Or not an invoice. a memo.
Invoice?
My bad, my bad.
And yeah, we're going to get things settled in here as we bring everyone in. Get things started here with the whole breakdown. I'm joined by Vickless Falcon here in voice chat. We'll get the video going here real soon. Can you hear me, Vic? So if you want to give me, well, we can wait for Baltor and people to hop over here. Yeah, want to switch over here. The streamers definitely told us they want us to roast their team, so we won't be holding back, I guess. And welcome in to all the raiders here. 600. For what video? Oh, in content. We got everyone coming over from GrandPooBear's stream. Baltor's here, the auctioneer, as we get things settled in for this the post-draft show, you know, breaking down the teams, breaking down the draft, and breaking down who we think the winners and losers were in this draft. Certainly very interesting. If you're from the Mario baseball community, you know, not going quite to plan as people would expect from there, but I think in the end it'll work out pretty well for everyone. I don't see necessarily crazy stacked teams, which I think could have happened early on, seeing how things went, but we'll get into all of that as we get more settled here. I'm going to bring in our draft, or our commentators here on this post-game show. All right, we got that in. And we got everyone on screen: Vickless Falcon, Baltor, myself. Nooch won't join us on stream, but he was definitely putting in work on the draft side of things and might be feeding us some stats and information. I want to start off with Baltor as the drafter here and channel host. You can probably take over too here. But what are your initial thoughts? Anything you want to go over to start things off?
I think it's so funny. It's so fun to watch. What was the best part about watching this draft is just the Mario baseball part of my brain, like screaming, but at the same time, like really loving the fact that it was very like it was still fun. I mean, it's just such a wide range. And when you saw the prices for some of these characters, we're looking at $40 Yoshi right now on the you know, and Madge's going for $4. I think the biggest thing our players are going to see here is they are going to see how important line drive star swing is. And so so it was just so interesting to see how some teams kind of started off slow, but then really picked it up. And Lights in the chat here already commenting from the Pineapples. When you're looking at adding a green para and a Madge for $6 total, That's huge right there. I mean, that's massive value for your team. So every team is going to get stuck with a couple of stinkers. So I think most everybody was able to kind of navigate. I think there's a couple of exceptions. If you have to, right now, if I had to pick my least favorite team, it is the Monkeys. I just that team I think has the possibility to struggle the most, but every team kind of has enough little interesting pieces there that I think will kind of make it, because I'm trying to look right now. I was really impressed with how some players were holding off on the draft and waiting to spend their money big, because I don't know how easy it would be for you to show an NNL result draft for all the folks here to kind of see what we do for the prices, but I like the dingers as well. I like the bombers there. The bombers are. I did not like the castle for the bombers. I will say, that was one of my But I think there might be some trades here. We'll look in the server, and the trade talk channel is already active. So I think there's a lot of really good teams here. I think it actually ended up being a really interesting thing, and some interesting pairs here. We got a double Birdo team. We got a double DK team, double Boo team with King Boo. There's a lot of crazy stuff here, and I think the Wavy actually built a phenomenal garden team. When you're looking at this garden team right here, that's going to be a factor there. You're looking at, you got Birdo, you got plenty of line drive, star swing, you got Chem to beef up these Piantas there. It's gonna be interesting to see how it goes.
Yeah, you were asking about bringing in some of these prices. I'm currently working on that based on some stars off data we have from some classics that we've run, and that Dinger City, another popular YouTube channel on Mario Baseball, have run. So I'll be bringing those as soon as they are finalized here. But Vickless Falcon, the commissioner of the league, welcome to the stream. I know you're kind of just on voice now, but or back on the draft, but now in person. Anything you want to add to anything that Balter said, or any thoughts at all from the draft?
Yeah, I thought that it ran pretty well. I do wish we could have utilized the queue just to probably sped it up a little bit, but everyone was having a good time, so it worked out. I suppose we should have clarified the captain rule, just with 36 characters. I figured, everyone would at least pick one, but that didn't happen. But I think we're just going to make Chris have a captain before they play a game, and it'll be fine. So, yeah, everyone coming out pretty strong. We saw Yoshi go for 40 early on. We saw DK go for 44. The Bowser's going for 50 and 55. I think for a first-time draft, that's pretty respectable. And yeah, I think both Bowser teams, even though they're at Castle, that doesn't necessarily mean they're at a disadvantage. They can still hit some home runs on the corners or over center field. And
2 out of the 3 of the games they play each week are not at Bowser's.
Right. So exactly, they'll be playing a lot outside of Bowser Castle, and when they get into Bowser Castle, they'll be locking down their opponent from hitting home runs too. So, yeah, I think the storylines I was kind of watching during the draft were, the holdouts that were waiting to get in there. Philly and Dave, were really waiting. I think Philly really cashed in well with his top 5 there with King Boo, PD, Boomer, Fire, and Boo. Really strong top 5 there. Honestly, I thought Xwater was pitching a perfect game. Until the end, I kind of wanted to see maybe a little more power on that team, just with KB and the Bro still available.
You'd love to get a PM on that team. You'd love to get a PM.
Yeah,
on that team.
Yeah, and there might be some trades available for that team too. I still think that's a pretty strong team. I think V-Swed made out pretty well, even though being at Castle, you've got Toadsworth, who's just a strong hitter. You got Magikoopa for $10, which all of the Magikoopas were great deals that we saw in this draft. Hammerbro to pair with Bowser, so you can put Hammerbro behind Bowser and protect him. That's a really big thing in drafts like these. Otherwise, it's really easy just to walk Bowser if you don't protect him. So, and then Green Shy Guy on the bump. Obviously, the number one. Me as the number one Green Shy Guy enjoyer. Love to see that. So, yeah, I think I like V-Swed's team I think that's at least probably a top 3 team coming out of the draft for me. Yeah, I'll have to look over some of the others here, but yeah, that was kind of my main takeaways. Is for a first time auction, I think it went all right. If they end up doing another one, there'll obviously be a lot of changes. So.
It's like we're just looking at some crazy outliers here with some things. We're looking at $16 for Diddy. We're looking at some of these that are a little crazy. But as I'm going through this again, the golf score has built another pretty darn good Garden team. When you got double Birdos up the gut at Garden, that's going to be a problem for other teams there. That's certainly going to be a factor. You got King Boo that can lock down third base. You got Yoshi in that mix as well. A lot of great chemistry. Would have loved to see a line drive star swinger on that team. I think that might be something if you're the golf score looking to target in a trade market, if you can get one of those line drive star swingers. And then let's talk about Pooh here. Double DK, double Walu with a $5 Fire Bro and 2 line drive swingers in Madge and Bones on Palace. I think that's going to be something that you can really sit there and say, I think Pooh is going to be a very strong, very, very strong home team. I mean, like I said, I think these players did a really good job of kind of adding to there. I was kind of saying I didn't agree with with CJ's team a lot, but you got Kem. You got good captain options here. I think each one of these teams has certain pieces that if they're able to excel with, they're going to do fine. But I am wondering how are these players going to handle the PD Piranhas, the Fire Bros, the Piantas? Those are going to be kind of difficult bats and difficult players for some of these inexperienced folks to use, because they're not. The thing that people think is, oh, it's Bowser. Oh, they're heavies. It's so easy for them to just go and, hit home runs all the time. You still got to hit the ball. You still got to line it up. So I think that those characters are going to be interesting, but it's just fascinating to see bros going for that there. So it is a very, very interesting type of stuff there. I think we kind of saw at the end, you start building out your team with kind of some of the quote unquote junk characters there. And that's why I think when you look at Xwater's team, the worst character on Xwater's team is Red Noki, and that's a pretty darn good place to be.
Yeah. And I want to bring in here the pricing that I've been working out. And I'll explain what these numbers mean here. So I got each of the players in, and then I took their teams and I've mapped them to two different ways to price the teams. One relies on the PJ Classic that me, Vickless Falcon, and some of the PJ and Friends esports team has run. So you see the values of each of the teams there based on the prices that we paid for characters. The prices aren't one-to-one because they were on different amounts of monies and different scales, but you see team to team, the hierarchy in the value of the characters. And then here on the DC Moneyball team, it's the same sort of idea. They rated the characters on a sort of tier scale and price them with a certain amount of value for each character. And so I've applied their pricing scheme to the characters and the teams drafted by these players. So it starts to really kind of break out who did well in the draft and who did not as well, just based on these two pricing models. But this isn't the entire story. Like Baltimore was saying, Stadium plays a big role, chemistry plays a big role. This is a very simplified way of looking at the teams, but it does give some sort of insight into potentially how the more general Mario Baseball community would look to rate these teams on a very cursory overlook. So yeah, go ahead, Balter.
Oh, no, I didn't want to cut you off there. I was just going into from the chat here. Stogie12 says, is there a set schedule? The schedule is actually being probably formed tonight or tomorrow. As terms of where to find it, I think most of our streamers will carry it, but I'm happy to also be a factor if there's some stuff. This will kind of be behind the scenes stuff. So, drop a follow. You never know. I might be helping out, trying to carry some games here, but we should be getting action starting next week. Our players are actually able to play spring training. They can play with their teams and start training right now. They can actually they have the game modes, so these teams could be seeing action, at least in preseason action tonight if anyone's firing up the game. I know it's a little late on the East Coast there as we're approaching 11 o'clock on that side there, but Gree, if you could just go over
I saw
quick,
the
points here.
Let me quickly reiterate. The points here are based on two classic drafts that we did the PJ Classic. Me and Vickless Falcon and a few other team members ran a classic draft pretty similar, and then the DC Moneyball draft is a different sort of draft, but they were the characters were assigned these values, and then I took the characters that y'all drafted, gave them the prices that we paid for them, and then sorted the teams by the amount of points there. So it's not the same scaling based on the amount of money to start with and the number of players in the league, but it is based on some sort of outsider value that the Mario Baseball community places on those teams.
All right, Vickless, I got a question for you. I want to throw you a question here, if you're ready.
Me?
Yeah.
I was going to show the schedule real quick. Sorry.
Oh yeah, no, all right. You got this. Yeah, the commission is here, so we got if we have the schedule available. So reminder, folks, if you're curious how this will work.
How are you going to send it to me? Share it in.
I was just going to like share it on the screen.
Okay, yeah, share it on the
VOD Ninja.
Yeah, do that.
I think I'm not showing any links or anything.
Okay,
so.
yeah, I see that. Let me throw it in here.
Okay. So I still need to assign like home and away, which I have mapped out, but I haven't got to it yet. But basically we have 2 divisions, and everyone will play everyone in their own division in a series. And then we're going to have 2 interleague series where you will play someone from the other division. So like Pooh Bear's going to play Philly in the first like interleague, and then when we have the second interleague, for now I've made it to be determined. I think we're probably going to do it based off of the record at like the end of week 3 or so, just to make it a more balanced matchup. And then we mentioned it in the draft a little bit, but game 1 and game 2 will just be at the team's respective home fields, and then game 3 we're going to rotate. We're going to pick an order for all 6 stadiums. So like week 1 could be all, DK Jungle. Week 2 could be all Peaches Garden for like all the game 3s. And then there's a 7th, game matchup. So we're just going to we'll do a random stadium that week. And then the stadium just has to be different than what their 2 home stadiums are, if that makes sense. So that's kind of how the schedule is going to break out. But yeah, the divisions are Division 1 is GrandPooBear, CJ, DGR Dave, Fur, Andy, and Latorius. And then Division 2 is Philly, Chris, Morph, Xwater, Wavy, and V-Swed.
Sweet.
And there was Wavy was coming in saying a little bit down below average, but I'm looking at the back end of some of the, you can kind of just tell who planned for the back end of the drafts a little bit better. And you're looking at a $4 Yellow Match, $8 Pianta, $4 Luigi, and $4 Noki. That's, we're talking value right there, man. There's some really great stuff because, our players felt into the classic trap, whether it's fantasy football or fantasy Mario Baseball. Auction drafts are so tricky because you want to get that big player, but then you're getting to rounds 5 through 6. We were kind of watching, and Andy wasn't able to make the moves up until there. We knew Light was kind of dealing with those budget constraints there, and you can kind of see how that ended up panning out there for the end. But you can't deny the cores of all. I think every team here has a strong core. It's just going to be kind of the classic thing for Mario Baseball. Is how do you execute with your non-great characters? How are you going to use your Blue Bones, your Shy Guys, your Toads? They will play factors in games, so we'll see how it ends up panning out for these teams here. But Vickless, I was going to hit you with this question here. If you're Chris and you got to get a captain, what are you looking for in a trade right here?
Yeah, so I think you have to go probably for a Diddy Kong or a Bowser Jr.
Go cheap. You're thinking keep the Boo core and go cheap type of deal.
I think you have to. In terms of value, like trading for a captain, getting one of those 2 you're gonna be able to hopefully keep your team intact the most. Now, I guess I don't think you can trade away either Boo or Red Madge. I think you could probably trade away Green Dry Bones and get some value there just with Line Drive Star. But yeah, otherwise I think you just got to go cheap. And I don't know. I think we will make sure a deal happens, if that makes sense. We're not gonna let it get too strong armed, so we'll get something figured out.
Oh yeah, well, absolutely here. And so Gree, I guess my question here, what are your kind of thoughts in terms of who do you think like the best like 1 through 4, like who has who you're the most confident in your 1 through 4 kind of thing?
Yeah, so I mean, coming down towards the end of the draft, the Magic came off the board really late, and I was really hoping for someone to take a stab at running a lot of Magics. We didn't see anyone go for that. I know PK Kirby at one point had a comment, Baltor didn't feel like filling everyone in, that people value the Magics pretty well. So,
dude, Magic's going for $5 and $4. I was like, those were the ones that I was letting my biases show, because like, holy cow.
Yeah, but looking here at the different lineups top to bottom, you know, GrandPooBear has the double DK and the Fire Bro with the Madge and even 2 Waluigi, so very strong part there, and obviously that's why he ends up with a pretty highly ranked team according to our metrics. But then looking down the list a little bit more, trying to find out someone who's maybe more like lower middle tier of the lineup. You wouldn't expect to have that good of a lineup. I do like the Starro Chris with the double Boo, King Boo, Madge. I mean, that's pretty solid. You know, you can build some chemistry around the double Boo. He is playing at Wario Palace. I wouldn't hate seeing some charges out of some of those Boos. Put it down the line, put it into the corner. You know, you got a good shot there. And then you got the line drive Star Swing in Red Madge and Dry Bones. So, you know, some options there. And especially when you only have those 2 Star Swingers. Now, obviously, the team might get broken up with the trade situation, but with the Star Swinger situation, you know, you can afford to spend every single at bat with Dry Bones or every single at bat with Madge. So that'd be cool to see. V-Sweat there with Bowser, Hammer Bro, Madge, and then I know one of your favorite characters, Green Para. You build the chemistry there, Green Para with Bowser. I feel like I'm pretty biased towards Bowser in a classic. I run a lot of Bowser. Me and Baltor both in the NNL run a lot of Bowser.
Probably the two guys that love Bowser the most in classics.
So I'm obviously always going to be looking out at those teams. So I mean, those are the ones I see the most. I love always having a power option in a classic. If you can get 2 or 3 of those, some of the things that happen when you only have that one power option in a classic is you're going to just get walked and you have to deliver with the people behind. So when you do have those second and third options as a Bowser team, as a double DK team with a Fire Bro, you just put a lot more pressure on your opponent to have to pitch around a lot more characters than maybe a team that only has a like single Deontay, if you're looking at X-Water in terms of power, or you know, a Boomerang Bro and a PD with Litorius. That's a pretty good combo. You get those 2 characters there. You get the Madge afterwards with the Star Swing. I like seeing that. If you look at Fur there, the big spends on Birdo really leaves the home run hitting to KB. Now you're also at Garden, so you aren't as worried about putting a ball over the fence. So I like Garden on that squad there as well.
Yeah, the Garden is pulling a lot of weight, I think, right there. I think if you are targeting a line drive Star Swinger, I think is the only thing that really that Garden team is missing. You do have some interesting power. You have all the dinos there, and you never know what those what I like having a Noki. Anytime you got a Pianta on your team, if you can add a Noki in any capacity, that's great there. I'm trying to look and see the one thing too. I keep picking on CJ, which I feel bad. I am a little worried about some defense there for some of the defensive options there, but I do like the pitching there. I think when you're CJ and you're able to go Diddy Dixie, you're going to be in a better pitching situation than others. So we're going to see. And of course, the big news out of the CJ team, the highest paid Goomba of all time there at $7 there. So we're having some fun there in the draft. I'm just trying to I'm kind of quickly glancing to see if there's anything else that's kind of sticking out to me here.
I'm pulling up CJ's team on the tier maker.
I'm going to pull it up in game here. We can run it.
Okay.
But yeah, go ahead.
I mean, and that's actually, you know, in game is going to be interesting. I think what's going to be a huge factor for teams that are going to be maybe relying on the line drive Star Swing a little bit more. What does your team stars look like? How does your team composition look like? I am looking at, for example, I'm looking at the light team. How does Diddy or Yoshi, because you're looking at those, you're thinking you're going to go Captain Yoshi, right? But what if Diddy gives you more stars for your line drive Star Swingers here? that might be something that's going to be interesting. And I did see earlier Pooh in the chat was saying he was trying to get more Madges. I thought that was Pooh's whole plan, was that he was waiting as the Madges continued to go and he had the budget towards the end. I thought Pooh was going to be way more aggressive on the Magic Koopas, and with the budgets available for some of the teams, I can't remember exactly how they were going, I would have been going all in on Madges. I mean, there is a very real possibility that a team could have ended up with 3 Magic Koopas. I think if they once they see Madge, I think they'll kind of get it.
Yeah, I think one thing to remember with this draft is just with a lot of first time players. I think we look at the Madges and saying that's crazy that they went for so cheap, but Madge is actually a pretty tough character to use, just because you have to swing a certain way to get hits with Madge. If you're swinging early and pulling the ball and hitting soured, Madge probably doesn't seem very good, and so that's probably why a lot of people might have avoided him. But if some of these players can figure out you get that late swing down off the end of the bat, whether it's a slap or a line drive star swing, Madge is really a character that will be able to take advantage of this league. And there's a few other characters out there like that. I thought Toadsworth was actually going pretty appropriately priced, very friendly character for new players. Great slap hit, great star hit. You can kind of just hide him out in center field. He's not going to bobble anything because he has super catch. So he's another character that I was kind of wondering how he was going to go, and I think everyone was kind of like, Toadsworth's a good player, and he is a good player. So I'm kind of happy to see the players that got him and how they're going to perform with him.
Yeah, and it's going to be some of the stuff here. I just think in classics, one of my thing that I don't love is if I have, and Madge is probably an exception here in this, but like if I have 3 of a character, I'm looking at 3 Shy Guys on the Chris team here, no Birdo on that team. You got to build that lineup, because it's like you got GSG, you got Blue Shy Guy. Okay, what are they going to do? Can you be successful enough with Red Shy Guy to drive them in? Can you use the Chem or something like that? I just think when you have so many of the same character on your team, it can be a little bit of a headache there, just because with it being stars off. Shy Guy gets a nice boost when it comes to power, and if you could double Chem up Red Shy Guy with Pop Fly, you'd be sitting pretty. But that's kind of like, I think, one of my only concerns, and I think he's the only one with 3 of the same character on the team, and someone we haven't talked about here, and I think kind of a sneaky, interesting team, especially when you're looking at chemistry. The Lobsters are a fascinating team when you're talking about, you have Daisy, Luigi, Peach, Mario. So you got a whole core group of chemistry there. You got Bowser Jr., who can, say if people are going to walk Bowser, you could put Bowser Jr. in a position that's going to, put the pressure on people to pitch to Bowser. You have Red Bones there as well in that situation. The Lobsters, I think, are a team that they spent big on Bowser, but got incredible value across the rest of the board. $16 for Diddy, the biggest stretch in that entire thing. So it'll be interesting to see how the Lobsters are able to use what should be a really, really great core and great pitching as well. You're looking at Peach, you're looking at Dixie, and you're looking at Daisy. That's a darn good rotation for the Lobsters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're gonna bring up the CJ's team here in a second. One thing I haven't gotten to talk about is I wanted to bring up the idea behind, everyone's getting a steal on these characters, but the other ones are kind of falling by the wayside, and how I've begun to think about the pricing here in the draft is I think you got to look at it more holistically as the whole team pricing versus maybe an individual player here or there, just because there was that insane run of draft picks and bids at the start, and as it got towards the end, you kind of reallocate your money in different ways. Everyone's really low on money, so now the difference between $1 and $2 is a lot bigger than it was at the beginning. So that's how I've kind of begun to think about this draft, and I like thinking about it much more so in terms of who got a steal here or there, but who was really averaging out those good finds for what was available left on the board. But we'll bring up CJ's team right now. and Vickless Falcon is piloting how he thinks this fielding situation should go.
Yeah, so this is pretty tough. I think there's probably some scenarios where you're maybe going to need to swap Mario out into the outfield. You probably could swap these two actually. Bowser Jr. is going to be your wall jumper in right field. I think you lead with Diddy on the mound. In terms of your backup pitching options, you've got Dixie, which is great. So I guess you could start with either one of those. They're pretty interchangeable. But you'll have to figure out your rotation for 3 games. I do think, if we're going to talk Moneyball here, maximizing the $7 spent on Goomba, I think Goomba will need to see the mound. But Goomba, I think pitching in this league will be really interesting because I think a lot of it will be less, based on the stats of the pitchers. So, we think Diddy, Dixie, Boo, Walu, and Peach, are kind of the all-star pitchers
Now
in competitive Mario Baseball. But here, you can probably get away with pitching a number of different characters just because of their deliveries. And Goomba does have a pretty wacky delivery, not having any arms. So I do think Goomba, if Goomba can be a key relief pitcher on this team and maybe even Paragoomba to a degree, that can really help CJ a lot. I think Para also.
I think you're also leaving off Wario.
Oh
yeah, Wario is on that team.
Wario.
Yeah. I was like, why are we starting Paragoomba over Wario? Or
because Paragoomba is just that good. Let me grab Wario here. Okay, that actually helps the middle infield a ton.
now you can throw Mario in the outfield even.
Yep, if we go ahead and put Wario at second base, probably move Dixie to catcher for now. With the strong arm, Mario and left.
So you can't rely solely on ball dash there.
Yeah, so maybe that there probably will be some lineups like that where for game 2 or 3 you are going to have to utilize your bench player to get some innings pitched. In this case, Paragoomba probably subs in for Goomba, or depending, let's say you're at Peach Garden, maybe you do take Junior out and you put Paragoomba in. So yeah, the players will have to figure out how to utilize that 10th player. The pitching rotation will help with that. So, but yeah, I think, swapping these two, I think will be nice. CJ will just kind of have to decide when he wants to do that, or try to have Dixie, pitch all of game 1, bring Diddy in for game 2, and try not to have to go to the bullpen too much.
Funnily enough, I mean, and Nooch is in the chat and he's going to hate me for saying this. We have done a fantasy Mario Baseball before. It requires gathering the stats and a little bit of work. I don't want to speak for him, so it's technically possible. But Vickless, could you maybe give some insight into, as Nooch says, oh boy, in the chat. Some folks have kind of asked, can they see the schedule? Is the server? Our server itself will not be public. It's just way easier for us to keep it clean behind the scenes and everything that we need to do. But how can we make it, how can people kind of like find this stuff? Are we going to maybe make a public version for people to maybe see the schedule or something like that?
Yeah, I think the schedule can definitely be public. I had mentioned in at least Pooh server today that we could, maybe there's a dedicated channel in there we have for the league or something. But yeah, I think between everyone's Twitch streams, we will probably have a public version of the schedule in some capacity, whether it's like a shareable link or, maybe just like a couple images attached. So it's easier to share, but the schedule will be as visible as we can make it.
Yeah, and we're gonna make sure that we because our job, you're looking at us and Nooch, our other guy behind the scene. Our job is to kind of help keep this moving. We'll pop in. I'll be happy to commentate some games and stuff for the folks that are kind of tuning in. I do a lot of commentating and stuff there for the stuff there. So we'll make sure that we're helping you guys see as much of this as possible for us. And as Pooh mentions, we'll have the in-season awards. And the great part, if you're not sure, if you're kind of not familiar with everything that Project Rio can do, we will be tracking stats throughout the entire season. So if you want to know how Wavy's Yellow Madge is doing in the season, we'll be able to produce those numbers for folks. It won't be as easy as it is on our end. We'll have to kind of get those numbers and then get them out to people. But the beauty of Project Rio, what makes Project Rio so cool is when you play on specific game modes, it tracks your stats. So if you sign, and you guys can do this right now. You don't have to be in a certain league. You can play with your friends. You can do this stuff. The Project Rio tracks the stats, so we're gonna know what GrandPooBear's DKs are batting, how good he is as a pitcher, what the Lobsters are able to do at Castle and things like that. So Project Rio is so awesome for being able to do this. So even if we can't create a fantasy league or something like that, we're still going to be able to provide you a pretty close to, ESPN experience of, hey, DGR Dave's Luigi's batting 420 right now, with 69 runs or something like that. As I hit the meme numbers for you all there. But I think the other big takeaway I have from some of these teams here and some of the things to point out is just how much more Hammer Bro went than the other bros. I think that Hammer is going to be kind of an interesting thing. You saw the first Boomerang Bro going for 22, but both Hammers going for 28 and 27. A nice little mix up there, and I can't keep ignoring this. The Goomba got paid more than a bunch of Magic Goombas.
And the Fire Bro, right?
Think is awesome.
Didn't the Fire Bro go for $5? Yeah.
I think
crazy.
I think with Fire Bro, probably just not a lot of knowledge or experience there using Fire Bro. Obviously, I do think and like there's a lot of people in the community that are huge fans of Fire Bro, and there's a lot of people that never use Fire Bro. But the Fire Bro's baseline is still very, very good. As a low trajectory hitter, you're going to hit a lot of low singles. And then the ones that Fire Bro does get in the air are going to go a long way. So, I think another big thing in this league will be, with these pull hitters, will these players be able to, pick up that early swing on the ball, with the Piantas and probably needing to flip Pianta to lefty, and maybe they haven't really done that very much. But yeah, for all the Piantas, definitely being able to flip them lefty and swinging early. They'll be able to get a lot more value out of them, hopefully. So and like I mentioned with the Madges earlier, the people that can get down the push swings that go to the opposite field with like Madge and Waluigi, and then getting those pull swings with the power hitters, that'll be a big difference in a lot of these games.
I'm looking at some stadiums that may play a big factor in kind of my initial reactions here. The cheesesteaks at Jungle. Oh my. We're talking King Boo. We're talking Petey. We're talking Boomer. We're talking Fire Bro at the Jungle every week. Philly, if you're going right now, Philly should be in the lead for team with the most home runs. If you're going strictly on paper characters mixed with that stadium, you should be expecting a ton of offense from the cheesesteaks here. On the flip side, I think Light is going to struggle at Park. That big outfield, the plants. You only got those two main heavies there. You got a couple line drive star swingers there for the Pineapples. We'll see how those pan out there. But I think when I'm kind of looking immediately, those two stadiums kind of stick out to me for those teams.
Yeah.
As Philly says in the chat, fuck defense, hit dingers. And, that's a great mindset to have. I love it. And Philly, actually, there were some comments on your defense, but you kind of built that up a little bit more in the back. You got Toadette for a great elite outfield defender. You have Daisy, who not only can pitch, but can play your middle infield there. Shy Guy and Toad can fill out some of your pieces in the infield there. Baby Luigi can play some defense as a wall jumper there. And we can see how it will go from there. Especially when you're talking Jungle, like avoid the barrels and you'll make the play.
Yeah, I think Philly's team, even with the two bros, you could probably get away with putting them in your middle infield, or maybe sticking one at first base, one at shortstop to have that chem connection. So that's probably going to be the biggest thing with Philly's team is, can he fill those gaps on defense? And maybe there's some scenarios against some teams where he does move Toadette, like into second base or something like that, because he doesn't have to worry about wall jump out there. So and then KB and Petey, Just an awesome chem connection. Third to home. Maybe even PD plays some middle infield. That's kind of something we've seen in competitive Mario Baseball lately, is people trying PD at second base, just because he has a little better dive range and a good throw to home. So it'll be interesting to see where Philly goes with that.
Yeah, and while we're on this topic of Philly's team and seeing how it stacks up at his stadium, I think we can bring in the tier maker here. And I want to make a tier list maybe of, each team, how we rank them, give them a grade. And then also we can kind of talk through, this gives us a good opportunity to sort of just talk through each of the teams that we maybe haven't gotten to yet. So I want to build some consensus here. I think Philly deserves an S tier team here. What are we thinking?
I'm going to put Philly in the S tier. You're talking Boo, you got King Boo, you got Two Bros and PD on Jungle. I think that your supporting cast kind of struggles, but Toadette with that Toad chemistry, Yellow Shy Guy's probably going to be your reserve player there more often than not, depending on how you feel about Baby Luigi. I think that's if no lower than A, I would put for that.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, I think I would probably go. I think Stadium bumps it up to an S. I think on paper, without Stadium involved, it's probably an A. I'm saying like without Stadium involved.
Okay.
In general, then it's probably an A just because of the defense. But
right.
I think having Jungle just really boosts that team. And even with Yellow Shy Guy as your last pick, Yellow Shy Guy can be your second starting pitcher on that team. So yeah, I think I'm okay with putting Philly in S tier to start.
All right, now moving on. Does anyone have a team that they want to talk about that we've maybe already talked about? We can start with next, or we can just go down the line.
Let's just go down the line, I think.
Yeah, I'll put on the line.
Okay, so starting off with Andy's team here at DK Jungle. You got the DK at his home stadium. Probably will be your Captain DK there. And then
I'm going Captain DK over Walu for sure.
Yeah, you can rock some bananas if you want. Otherwise, you're looking at Toadsworth stars, Greenoki stars. Greenoki's gonna have a lot of stars to play with if you're not hitting that banana ball. But I think the banana ball with the barrels in the outfield can be pretty interesting. So I'd be on the lookout for that. PD, obviously the home run threat, $40 spent there. And you got some role players. You got Monty. You got a couple Toads who are good at bat. They do have some shorter bats, so it might be a little bit harder to get on base with them. And then the big spend on the Red Shy Guy there for $9. Again, they kind of fill a similar role to the Toads. The defense, I think, is going to be a little bit lacking. You got DK in the middle infield, Waluigi on a corner, Noki probably in the middle infield, and you got to find spots for all these other characters. So I'm not feeling too hot about the team. What are we thinking? Oh, let me help that.
I think this is like a C tier team. I think you got PD, you got DK, you got Chem on Jungle, you'll be okay. You got your line drive star swingers, which will help you out. And then you kind of, by the way, they're hearing our Discord.
I fixed that now. Sorry about that, guys.
Right, sweet. But I think how do you perform with those lower tier characters there, those role players? But on Jungle, you kind of get the added bonus there, and you get that added, I think, those two line drive star swingers with Noki and Toadsworth. With your Waluigi pitcher there, you got Toadsworth who can maybe see the bump, and Noki as well. I think this is a C tier team. I don't think it's got flaws, but if you're able to perform with DK and PD, you're going to score, and you got two line drive star swingers to kind of help you build out that lineup there throughout the rest of your order.
Yeah, I think I'm okay with C. I think the offense has the potential to be pretty good. It's just going to have to be, training, like getting the slap train going. Because the bottom 4 or 5 year lineup there is, Toad, Koopa, Shy Guy, Monty. So if Andy's able to get on base with those characters, I think he can do pretty well. But yeah, DK, PD, and Toadsworth are really going to have to produce. So I think I'd probably lean C. And then the defense probably leaves a little to be desired as well.
Yeah, you got Walu that can jump catch on third when not pitching. You got sliding catch there with Noki and Shy Guy to make an interesting option for second base, perhaps, as Noki maybe is probably playing center field or left field. No wall jump on this team. Always a problem at Jungle, if we're being honest. So the defense, easily the weakest part of the Fandy team is the defense here. I think that will be the biggest hurdle for Andy to overcome, because you do have two players that can put the ball over the wall at any stadium. So that's going to be a benefit no matter where you're at.
All right, yeah, I'm on board with Z tier. We can move on to CJ's. Already been a topic of discussion. Are we giving out D's or are we sticking with C's at CJ's team?
I'm going D tier, and here's the big reason why. DK is your only real locked-in home run hitter, and how much are you really going to be going for home runs when you're considering the slapping? I like the chem. I like the options that you have for captain. You have 3 solid captain options here, but Diddy, you have 2 good pitchers in Diddy and Dixie. I just worry about the offense on this team. Toadsworth is going to do a lot of work as that line drive star swinger, and depending on who gets the captain there of this team, Vickless, do they have to choose a captain to stay, or can they go Mario, go Wario, go DK? Can they bounce around?
Yeah, so they'll have the flexibility to switch. So depending on stadium, CJ can switch captains, which might help a little bit. Maybe I think Mario's probably your captain by default. Just because you have Diddy, you have Dixie, so you're probably going to want to charge with Donkey Kong. Maybe put Diddy and Dixie, at the 8, 9, 1 in the order, and DK can be 1 or 2. So there's some flexibility there, but yeah, I think I'm leaning C or D. I think the potential is there, but yeah, I think I'm going to have to see it first.
Yeah, I think we will put it down in the D tier for me at least. Basically everything. I think we've talked about everything. We even laid out the team. The offense is going to be hard to come by. Mario Stadium, you can't have the hazards to help you out. I do like Mario Captain on this team. I think that would be a pretty obvious choice for me. You're not going to maybe spend as many stars. DK, you can just sometimes swing through those hits and the bananas. And a little maybe more inconsistent. But if you put Mario Captain, you get another kind of guaranteed person who can get on base. $4 Toadsworth does help out the lineup, another star swinger there. I would definitely stay away from the junior bullet ball. Far too unpredictable and can be dove caught in the infield, negate that pushback effect, and then maybe turn some double plays if you have players on base. So yeah, those are my thoughts on the CJ team. Baltar, you maybe want to lead us off with the DGR Dave roster here?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing when you're looking at this team here is it's got another one with a solid core. You love the babies. I'm not familiar how much Dave has actually played the game. If you haven't controlled the babies before, they're kind of wacky out in the field with how fast they are and their small, tiny little hitboxes. But you get the added bonus on your corners are covered with double wall jump. You have Blue Madge there with that ability to line drive star swing. And that's a great, when you got Daisy, Luigi, and Peach, that's great chemistry right there. I'm in the high C to low B tier. So I think I'm going to bump this up to B tier here, because I think that when you're looking at the captains on this team, the options there, how much is Garlic going to be a factor in this? If you haven't seen a Wario Garlic ball, that's going to be a problem for you. For the competitive side, most people can kind of have figured out Wario Garlic, but I think for a fact, with CJ, another thing that going back to him, Garlic ball could be a secret weapon for some of these teams here, as we got some players who might not have seen it before. So I think I'm going to put this one on the lower end of the B tier, because I do like Hammer Bro. Only that the problem that I don't like on teams is when you only have the one solid home run option, but you got plenty of other firepower there and interesting captain stars there. But only one line drive star swinger, only one power hitter. If it wasn't for that chem and a good defense, I think that team might see C. But I'm going to put D at B tier.
Yeah, this is probably B or C for me. I do think Yoshi Park and Hammer Bro isn't the greatest combo. It can work. You may hit some balls out into the plants though, which can help. I think Dave had a great strategy with waiting in the auction, but then we went $60 on Peach, Luigi, and Daisy, which they're good all around characters, but offensively I'm just not sure what they're going to produce. He did save it a little bit with getting Madge for 17. That was great. And Wario for 9, also a pretty good deal. Actually, I thought Baby Mario, for $2 is a pretty good deal. Like he has a workable slap, and getting 2 toads with solid bats as well. So yeah, this is probably right in between B and C for me.
Yeah, I'm leaning towards the C tier for this team. I love Baby Mario's offense. I think it's a little underrated. I maybe love is a strong word, but I think it maybe underappreciated is a better word. Baby Luigi, less so. But then I think fielding these babies is going to be tough. Now the drop spots are on, but their hitboxes are so tiny that even having to run, well, you could obviously put one on the bench here, but running them in the outfield can be a little bit tough. I'm not seeing that power that I want to see at a team for Yoshi Park, or you got Hammer Bro kind of on an island here, no chemistry. And then you do have a nice chem there with Peach, Luigi, Daisy. But I don't know what that's going to really get you on the fielding side of things and on the batting side of things. You're probably not going to be charging with them. And then looking at your captain situation, I think Wario is a great option. I'll be interested to see how Wario performs with the captain star in this league. I think he can be pretty good, as Balter was saying. It's 50-50 if you don't know the garlic ball. He shoots a garlic into the air. 2 cloves come down. 1 has the ball. 1 will knock you out. Even if you know which one it is, there's no drop spot, so it's still pretty hard to find the ball. I think Wario is going to be a great option of the captain here. But other than that, I'm just not loving the limited options with the star swings and things like that. So I would personally lean towards the top of C tier here with Dave's team.
You got you have the power. So
I do. So I'm going to make the decision here.
Okay. Here, we'll kind of pick things up, as I know it's getting a little late here for folks, so we'll kind of start picking things up here. I actually think that the golf scores had a sneaky great draft here. If I was I would be targeting a Green Noki heavily, because if you add Green Noki to this team, I think you're going to be in a really interesting spot. I think the main problem with this Garden team is it doesn't have a line drive star swinger, but you make up with that with doubled Birdo and Yoshi here. The defense on Garden, good luck getting cheap hits there, because they're not going to happen very much. King Boo can hold down third. You can double Birdo in the infield. You can play Yoshi in left field. And then right field, you can put Baby Mario in on the rare chance. Wario could play center. I mean, you have a ton of great Garden options here. Pitching will be a problem. Not a strong pitching staff on this team, and I think that's why it's got to sit in B tier for me.
Yep, I'd say B or C tier for this team. I was about to talk about the pitching, because you're probably going to have to start King Boo or potentially Noki or Black Shy Guy. And I would say those are probably your 3 primary options, because you're not going to be able to pitch the Piantas. I mean, we haven't really seen Yellow Pianta much in terms of pitching in Stars Off. Obviously a menace in pitching in Stars On, but not much curve in Stars Off, so very hard to pitch with. You're not going to want to take Yoshi and Wario out of the field, or the Birdos. So there might be a trade out there for that Fur can execute to, if Fur can get another arm or 2, I think that team could bump up to A, but I probably have it in low B, high C tier.
Yeah, I'm leaning towards B, just with the synergies between the heavy focus on defense here in Garden. I think you're just going to suffocate other teams. So based on that, I would probably lean towards a B tier team. But I do notice the mentioned pitching, the lack of arms in the bullpen here. Noki looking like your number 1 pitcher. And so still based on that, the defense is rock solid. It's going to be tough to land a hit. I think B tier is pretty good spot for the golf rules. And then moving on to GrandPooBear's team. Started things off hot with the double DK. Probably one of those ends up being your captain, because we only got Waluigi and Daisy left. So see Captain DK, a $5 Fire Bro, obviously an incredible steal, $5 Madge. Able to really get some value here in the draft. Running Walu on the corner and then double DK infield, an option, but you also have Madge to fill in. So probably put Madge on the corner, start a Waluigi on the other side, double DK on the infield. Fire Bro can fill out the outfield with Dixie and Daisy. We're not seeing any wall jumps here, so that might be a little bit of an issue, but on offensive side of things, you got a great lineup top to bottom. I would love to play with this classic team. That's where I'm at with this. I think it's an S tier team.
I don't know if I'm going S. I'm going A though, because just if it had, I mean, this is just because I think that there will be some interesting things, but when you're looking for weaknesses on here, and your weakness is your outfield, most likely, that's not the worst place to be. I think that will be the question is, can Pooh survive the shootout with no wall jumpers in certain instances? Pooh is, played some of the most, so gonna have the most type of have the most experience as well here. And what's great about the double DK is you can slap with the first DK, and then you're bringing DK2 up with either Captain Banana Star or Charge with Chem, and that's huge. You put Dixie in there, you could be looking at double chemmed up DK on Palace. That's a great spot to be. And then, of course, when you're looking at your value, you got 2 line drive star swingers for $9, and then Fire Bro there mixed in with Waluigi's. This is a deep team with those pairs. The duplicates are doing a lot of great work for the Pooh Bear team. So I think without the wall jumpers, that prevents it from being S, because when I think of S, it's got like everything you're kind of looking for there. And so that'd be the main reason why I think that this would be an A tier team over an S tier team, but a phenomenal draft by Pooh for sure.
So am I the tiebreaker then?
I think
I
so.
would say so.
Yeah, I think this is an S tier team. Just the batting lineup. I mean, you can lead off with Bones or Madge, Star Swinger. You could probably lead off Bones, or you could lead off DK. Probably just lead off DK. Then you bring Fire Bro in to kind of clean up there in the 3-4 spot. Or you could put Madge third, Fire Bro fourth, kind of spread out your Star Swingers. You've got double Waluigi, Dixie, and Daisy. So your pitching is pretty much set. And then, fielding wise, you're sitting great with double DK in the middle infield. The outfield is, a little bit of a question, but, I don't think it'll be too much of a concern for Pooh. I think this is a pretty good team. You even got Monty off the bench if you want to bring him in. I just think the top 6 to 7 on this team is just really, really strong. So I'm gonna go S tier.
Yeah, I see what you're saying, Baltor, with the lack of wall jump, but man, that is a good squad. Moving on.
It's a great squad. You cannot deny that at all. It's a great squad.
Moving on to the pineapples here, Litorius. We're looking at a Yoshi Park team, Captain Yoshi or Diddy Kong. That'll be an interesting decision. I would probably be in favor of testing both out, see how each of the star hits is landing. You never know with the Diddy Banana how it could get fielded. In competitive play, it's not as good as some of the other Captain Star Swings, but maybe here with the plants or with some worse outfielders, that ball can get down in the outfield for some hits. And if you can get that to land with Diddy, that's a big boost to your team, because Yoshi has a better slap than Diddy Kong. So you got to kind of play the trade-off there with the better Star Swing in Yoshi, but the better slap as well. And then looking at the power, I like the Madge into Boomerang Bro. You have the chemistry there, and then you also have the PD. So that's a really good top of the lineup. Yoshi provides some help on defense. Para's going to be solid on defense, maybe on a corner in the outfield. Madge going to be a great value. Diddy, a great starting pitcher. You also have Para. Greg Green Koopa can get some innings in. The Dry Bones can get some innings in. I think this is a pretty solid A team from my perspective. I don't know what y'all think.
I was going to go B because of it being a park. I think you're going to be looking at some of the challenges of that stadium, but I think you kind of nail it there. You look and kind of quick glance, you might wince at this a little bit just from kind of the back end of that draft, but you look there, Boomerang Bro with PD, great combo. The $40 Yoshi is probably the tough pill to swallow, but Yoshi's incredible. And just like we were talking with Wario swings, if they haven't seen a Wario garlic, they probably haven't seen a Yoshi egg ball. So that's going to be another element there. I think what really helps the pineapples is getting those line drive star swingers for $6. What a steal in rounds 4 and 6 for the Pineapples right there. And I think that's what makes this team and really will make it a deeper lineup here. As again, the big challenge for this team is going to be the bottom half of that lineup. How are you able to produce with your Bones, with your Koopa? Greg, if you heard it, that's what we call it, Green Koopa. And we'll probably see Lean Toad probably come in on a relief basis there. So I'm going to put this on B tier just for the fall off from the top of the lineup. But I think the value picks that the Pineapples got here as they were facing kind of a tough spot in the draft. Look at that. Look at how their draft ends up there. Only there after rounds 5. Only one pick going more than $4 available there. So, trying to budget there and being able to save a nice team there with the budget. You got the super jump from Para, which will help. But again, another thing where no wall jumpers, and I'm a pretty big wall jumper believer.
Yeah, I think I'm with you on this one, Baltimore. I think this is a B tier, just mainly due to the lost value that the $83 spent on PD and Yoshi, plus being at Park. But I do think, like you guys have said, there's some pretty strong aspects of this team. I think the pitching depth gets a little thin. Yeah, you'll probably throw Dry Bones out there. You will get Curse Ball from that at Park, which might help. But this team, and a lot of slappers on this team as well, the ball will be going into the plants, which probably is an advantage for the batter in this case. So I think I'm with you. I think I'm in B tier.
And Curse Ball, for those watching don't know, it is a deep, deep lore of Mario Baseball. But Dry Bones and some other pitchers have this Curse Ball effect where their pitches will have a slight velocity decrease on charge hits from opponent characters. Very minor. I think it's around 2-ish% velocity decrease, but was one of the last major aspects of Mario Baseball that was like deep lore because it was very briefly mentioned in game. Moving on to Morph, the Lobsters. Anyone want to kick that team off?
Yeah, I can go ahead. So I think this team is tough to gauge. So you've got Bowser, you've got Dry Bones, you've got Bowser Jr. So those are your chem connections with Bowser, which is good on the Bowser team. That's what you want. And we didn't include a lot of Bowser chem connections kind of for this reason because it would have got so overwhelming. So I think that's a decent start. You can put, those two probably put Dry Bones either in the leadoff or in the 9 hole, and then Bowser can be right behind. Madge, a great addition at the end, $4. You've got Peach, Luigi, Daisy, Mario, some great chem connections there. And then Dixie and Diddy on the mound. I think middle infield is probably the biggest question for this team. You're probably going to have Daisy there and Bowser potentially, but they have anti-chem. So that could cause some issues. I think this is probably a solid B team for me. Just getting a quick look at it.
Yeah, I think
I would love to see more chem on this team. I mean, you got your Bones, you got Bowser Jr. Obviously, those are factors. I would like to see a green Para, green Bones on this team, and I think that would be a possible difference maker for it. But I'm with you on the B tier team. I kind of agree with what you said there, Vickless. I think strong core, strong options. I don't think you're hampered too much by Castle. You don't have any curve trage in your lineup to confuse the Thwomps with, but you still have enough firepower with Bowser. I mean, anytime you have Bowser on your team, you can't be too far down because Bowser wins games.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'll B tier on this team. Looking at the captains, I think you probably go Mario captain, and it probably ends up being a 3-star team if I had to guess, just based on having Bowser and Junior and Madge and those sorts of things. You could also rock Luigi captain at Castle. I would love to see maybe some switching there. That fireball on the pavement at Bowser Castle bounces a little bit more. It travels further because it doesn't get slowed down as fast on that pavement versus the other stadiums, the grass or the sand. There's actually an in-game effect like that. So could see Luigi there for that guaranteed single if you can push it down the third base line. And then maybe Mario, you're running that at other stadiums. But like I said, even if you opt for Luigi captain, that's probably, again, a 3-star team, maybe even a 2-star team. Probably not a 2-star team, but Luigi does have not the best chem tree in the game. So based on that, and then, the offense, you got 2 monkey bats, and then, Peach and Daisy can get some singles, but not the most consistent hitters. I do like B tier for this team.
And this is a good point from the chat here, pointing out that there was a trade already. Morph and CJ actually did trade teams. So CJ will actually not teams, stadiums, I should say, stadium. So we actually that should kind of factor into what we were saying there. The Bowser Castle will actually be CJ's home stadium, and Mario Stadium will be the home of the Lobsters. So I think that is a huge upgrade for the Lobsters there, and I still think that kind of gets it close to that A-tier team range. I still think a little bit of those concerns you might bring it down a little bit, but that stadium is a nice upgrade there. And unfortunately for CJ, I think that makes things a little bit harder for CJ on the other side there, depending on how that pans out there. But you mentioned the captains. Be interesting to see if Peach Captain gets used to see those heart balls and those things that again, one of those star swings that takes the ball off the screen and makes you have to find it. So we'll see if that's an impact as well.
Mm-hmm. All right, we already put Philly in the S tier. I think based on everything we're done, I think that's still a fair position. Move on to Starro Chris. Looking at it here, the double boo, the Madge. I said earlier I do like the top of the lineup. You're at Wario Palace. I think that's good for this team. You also have the Green Dry Bones Star Swinger, but you got the Shy Guys and Toad. Kind of lower tier fielders, I would say the Shy Guys are. Same thing with Blue Toad. Blue Toad's probably more middle tier with that 7 speed. So fielding will be interesting. I also think having 2 boos can be tricky in the field. You do have your corners locked down, King Boo and Madge. But finding a place for the second boo can be a little bit trickier. I'm leaning towards C tier on this team. I don't know what y'all are thinking.
E tier.
C tier, yes.
D tier. I think when you're looking at the top 5 in this lineup, I don't think it can drop you into C because you're looking at 2 great line drive star swingers. You're at Palace, so that means it's going to be a nice benefit for some of that King Boo, and even if you're maybe even feeling frisky and going for some Boo tech, I think the 2 line drive star swingers, you got your pop fly possibility from Red Shy Guy with the added thing if you're gonna beef up on the Shy Guys, you got 3 of them at least. So it will be an interesting way to see how this lineup gets put together. Are you gonna run the 3 Shy Guys? Who gets in? Who's pitching? I think the pitching is the biggest issue with this. I guess you got the double boos, but that possible game 3 there, you're going to kind of fall off. On
game
that.
3, he can throw another boo, right?
Is the other boo, that's right. So actually pitching, he's set, so doesn't have to worry about there. So that's another reason I think why you can't drop it into C when you're looking at, you got 2 of the best pitcher in the game basically there, and you can double chem that up with King Boo. You're looking at a lot of 3-run home run possibilities for Boo if you're setting up that chem around. And does Madge have Boo chemistry?
Yes.
And so that's a huge add right there when you're talking about being able to throw that line drive star swing in there. So I can't put this in C. I think you're looking at too much of a solid lineup there. But the big question will be, how does this team look post-trade, needing to add a captain to this lineup? Because technically right now, no captains on this team. So a trade has to be made to get a captain in this lineup.
I'll hop in real quick before you go, Vickless. I think you convinced me, Balter. I think I could probably see myself moving this up to a B tier team. And then Chris was in chat asking about positioning Boo in the field. I'm always a little fuzzy on this, but I think I've been told that Boo and King Boo have the same hitbox size, which I still don't trust the fact.
No way I trust that.
But Boo and King Boo both have super jump, so you can throw a Boo on the corner. It just doesn't feel the same. I don't. Maybe it is different. Maybe it's the same. Maybe Nooch can, if he's still around, he'll let us know. But and when Boo's not on a corner, pretty slow in the outfield. I think the dive is really bad, and pretty small hitbox. It feels like. So that's why I don't like Boo anywhere else but on the pitcher's mound. So maybe you put a King Boo at catcher, Madge on first, and then a Boo, or a Madge on third, and then a Boo on first, just to try and avoid putting King Boo putting a Boo off the corners.
Yeah, I think offensively alone puts this team in B tier. I do think the fielding is a bit of a concern. You know, you may need to get away with like a Bones or a Shy Guy in your middle infield. You may even want to put Madge in your middle infield at times. But yeah, I think the reason why Boo and King Boo mainly don't feel the same is just Boo's arm is a lot weaker. So you can put Boo at third base, but there is the chem connection there. You know, if you if you were going to put a Boo at third to a Madge at first, I'd probably just put Madge at third and Boo at first. But yeah, if you're Chris, you're going to want the Boos to be not getting tired. And I think if that's the case, then it's a solid B tier.
And as the chat's pointing out, I don't know how you pull this trade off without losing probably one of your line drive star swingers or maybe a Boo. But you got to add, if you can add Wario into the mix here on this team, that's going to be a nice big benefit for you.
Yeah, I think during the draft, I was kind of hoping to see Wario get on this team just with the Boo connection. You could, because Wario does kind of struggle on his own, but if he has that double chem with a Boo or a Waluigi, he can become a legitimate power hitter. So that might be the move if possible. You may have to do like a 2 or 3 team trade though, or like a 2 or 3 person and 3 team trade to make that happen.
Yep, it's saying in chat stars on. I keep saying stars on Chris. I can't not do it. It's just burned into my brain there. Chris saying try it every time. That's the unfortunate part of the auction, right? It's so frustrating on that. But all right, up to the Bombers here, and part of me wants to say S, but again, I just sit there and I just worry a little bit on the defensive side and the pitching side, because the offense is great. When you're talking about you have a wonderful chem possibility, a chem train to set up for Bowser. You got a Madge, you got Toadette for some wall jump. Bowser Jr. can go in the bottom of your lineup to go with some chemistry there. I think you could be looking at it in a situation where there might be some low effort trades to just add something. I'm looking at that green bones over there on Chris's team to try to maybe see if I can get that green bones there. I love the core of this Bowser focused team. I just don't love Castle for this team. I think that's my biggest takeaway, and I'm worried about the pitching. So that's why I put this in A tier, because you're going to struggle with pitching. Your Green Shy Guy being your best pitcher off the rip right here, with Toadsworth maybe being your second option. That's going to be trouble, but your offense should be good enough to keep you in those games.
Yeah, this is probably between A and S tier for me. I think probably what keeps it from S tier is like the pitching that you're talking about. I do think the defense is a little better than advertised. You've got Toadette locking down right field. I've kind of got it pulled up here in a little grid just because I needed to visualize this team to try and figure it out a little bit. I think you could run like Bowser shortstop and Bowser Jr. at first base and put Yellow Pianta at second. I think you could probably put Para in left field, and also Para can be probably one of your middle relievers or second starting pitcher. And then you've got Bowser, Laser, Chem to Bro at home, which is really nice as well. So I think this is, and then, Toadsworth, just very solid at the plate, and a great feed into Bowser. You'd probably, I'm not sure how you would bat this team. It might take some experimenting, but I know you're going to have Bro behind Bowser, and that alone makes it at least an A tier for me.
Yeah, I'm thinking A tier. I wasn't thinking S tier, but the offense is so good. I think you go Toadsworth, Bowser, Bro, play Madge. Maybe if you want to try for some chem for Junior, throw Junior up in the top of the lineup. That's a solid top 5, top 6 year lineup. Probably something that you might even see in some ranked games there. And then you don't have a huge fall off towards the bottom. Toadette, serviceable bat. Can get the job done in some situations. And then on the defensive side of things, I love her for that. And the wall jump, I think that'll be important here at the castle. If you face some curved traj hitters, you can rob some of those home runs. So overall, I agree, A tier. I think first A tier team that we've listed here. And we got 2 teams left. We got Wavy and we got X-Water. We'll start with Wavy's team here at Garden. Gonna be running some Birdo Captain. We got Madge, Noki, Pianta there towards the back, double Pianta. So this one's tough to kind of make sense of, I guess. Where are y'all at with this?
I'm trading Garden. If I am Wavy, I gotta get out of Garden. I think, at least.
Really?
I mean, I guess with no true home run hitters, you can set that up, and our folks are probably not familiar with Falcon Pop. So I don't know how much that will, how much are you going to use that?
Yeah.
But I think my biggest because I guess, yeah, you really don't have the big pop there. So why are you really worried about going outside of Garden? You got double line drive star swing. You can bring up that double chem in certain situations for PM. You got a Birdo. Maybe I'm a little getting ahead of myself here on this Garden hate here, but I feel like this team, the identity is weird to me. It's weird. It's weird to find exactly where is that really solid core. Where is that thing that's really going to do great? Because when this team gets out of Garden and you can't hit the ball over the wall, unless you're good with PM. And for folks that don't know, Pianta is, I would say, when you're talking about new players adjusting to a bat, Pianta is one of the hardest bats to learn. I think that's where Wavy is going to struggle, but I think this team overall has great pieces. When you're talking about double line drive star swinger, you got Birdo captain, which is always great at Garden. So I'll put this at B tier, I think. But again, and you got the Peach pitcher, so you got a great starter, and you got some interesting options for the rest of your series. So I think I can put this one at B tier, and maybe I was a little too eager in trying to move away from Garden there. But I do think that this team is missing kind of a big unifying factor, a key piece around it. We were talking about the Bombers there. That's a Bowser team when you're looking at it. You got Bowser Jr., you got Bro, you got Para, and you got Madge to kind of pair with it. I'm kind of looking for that thread here, but I like a green Noki to set up a couple of these Piantas, to maybe set up a Birdo here as well with the Madge. I think that this is something that I think maybe I'm kind of looking at it. I like it, and you got to give it props. The Gooners wanted pink people on their team, and they ended up with a lot of pink on that team. So when you're talking vibes right there, that's some good vibes right there.
Yeah, I think Baltor hit the nail on the head. It's very unorthodox team. I don't know that I've ever seen a team quite like this in a classic. It'll be interesting at this Garden with the two Piantas. I would be very much interested in potentially running double Falcon Pop with right-handed Pianta. So if you're not familiar, right-handed Pianta will have a star hit that if he sours it, will basically be a guaranteed single. It is that good of a star hit, and it's pretty good to hit the sour. It's pretty easy hit the sour spot on Pianta's bat. So if you're talking for a newer player to try and land that star hit, I think that's a pretty good option for Wavy to rely on there. It'll be interesting to see because you do also have a lot of people hungry for stars. You got Captain Birdo, Green Noki will be hungry. Toadsworth can be that star user as well, and Madge as well. So star economy, managing your stars will be very interesting. And then when you're moving off a Garden, obviously, I think you can move away from the Piantas trying to Falcon Pop and move towards the line drive charge hits, or even if you pop it in the air, trying to put it out.
Yeah, I think it depends on how fast Wavy can pick it up, but I think this is like a low A tier team for me because of the Pianta versatility. I think at Garden you could flip one righty and star hit and have one lefty behind, or just keep them both lefty and charge for try and get low trad singles. I think the defensive layout is pretty good. You can put Toadette in left field. You've got Birdo at short. You can put Noki at second base, and you have Pianta at first and home. And then pitching wise, you've got Peach, and then you could bring in Noki or Yellow Madge. So there's a solid, couple solid backups there. Yeah, I think Luigi is kind of the odd duck on this team. He does have chem with Peach, but he's not going to be captain, so you're kind of just slapping him. Now he does have wall jump, but you do have Toadette, and Toadette has the chem with Toad and Peach already, so maybe Luigi is the piece that maybe you potentially look at trading, and maybe trying to get some more power like you're talking about. I'm not exactly sure where that would come from, but I think that's kind of what's making this team feel a little odd to me, but I think it's pretty solid, so I'm going to give it an A tier.
You give this one an A tier. I'm sorry. Did we agree on
Well,
A
you
tier?
two said B.
Okay,
So
I was thinking
yeah.
B tier. Okay.
I think I'm just saying I give it an A, but
okay.
yeah.
I was just trying to remember here. And then we're on to, and everyone look at the tier list. I don't know that we've necessarily ordered this B tier.
It's not, yeah. The tier list is just tiers. I wouldn't put them. It's not an ordered tier list. If you're curious on that, because we could take a screenshot of that and share it out for folks to take a look to as well. And I'll just start things off here on the X-Water one. a phenomenal draft, I think, when you're talking value, maximizing your budget, going throughout that whole thing. Maybe going a little higher on that Yoshi, but when you're at round 7 and you see a character you like, dive right in and I think go and spend that money. Why not? Especially when you're looking at the prices you're able to get a Wario and a Madge for and a Peach at that late stage. If I'm Xwater, I am on the phone with Wavy for a pink menace right away. That is literally the first thing I am trying to do. I am trying to send the blob to Wavy, and I am trying to get me one of those pink menaces, because if you can line up double line drive star swing with Noki into a double chemmed up PM on Mario Stadium, you're sitting there looking pretty. You got Waluigi to pitch. You got great defensive options here. At minimum, this team, I again, doesn't have my wall. It's got one wall jumper, so that helps. I think the biggest concern here with this team is why it's not an S team for me is it doesn't have that big menacing power bat, that guy that can hit a home run every time. This is an A-tier team on Stadium, especially. Really, really well done, I think, from Xwater in this draft.
Yeah, I think if there was like a winner of the draft, it probably was Xwater. Just very, very calm with the early buys, not buying into the all the early spending. I think we were kind of sitting on pins and needles waiting to see if he was gonna, cash in his money in the bank and get like a KB or a Fire Bro there at the end. And I think it would have been far and away the best team. But still, yeah, very solid. It'll just kind of come down to the run production. But yeah, I think very easily an A-tier team. I think the defense is great as well. You've got Walu who can hold it. Walu and Peach on the mound. You could even, sit Peach and play Red Noki for more defense in game 1, bring Peach in for game 2. You could do something like that. So yeah, just a lot of options, offensively just is maybe what holds it back from S tier. But yeah, I think a great team and a great draft.
Yeah,
absolutely.
My thoughts here, I liked the start. I liked not spending a bunch early on. But then as we got later in the draft, I felt like Xwater had a lot of opportunities to try and grab a solid power hitter, someone later in the draft, and it just didn't happen. So I was a little disappointed to see that, or, make a run at some Madges, which are on the board late. Just a couple things there that I feel like the team squad could have been filled out maybe a little bit differently. And obviously this is the first time they're drafting, so things there. But it's still, for all of that being said, the team still ended up really well. But like Baltor says, this power, the power options on this team are very limited. Mario Stadium, you're not going to see a lot of balls put out of there by either Pianta or Wario. Probably running Mario Captain. I mean, you got options. You can run Mario, you can run Yoshi, you can run Wario. So it'll be interesting to see how the offense can put runs across the board. But on defense, very, very solid. Top to bottom, you got a lot of options to put players in different spots. Defensively, can probably stop a lot of runs coming across. The pitching situation, you probably got Peach, you got some Nokis to fill that out. So you're looking good there with Waluigi as well. I like the pitching options here. So I think A tier is a good place for this squad to fall, but I think it could have gone to S tier with a slightly different drafting end there for Xwater. But still, as Vickless said, didn't get sucked in to the early madness and kind of held their ground and, worked out to a solid A tier squad.
Yep, I think like I said, the big question there is just that lack of big bat, and it's just so crucial. The thing that's interesting with how some of these teams lined up, when you don't have one of those guys that can leave the yard very frequently, that will hamper your offense. But if you're able to go station to station, if you're able to play small ball, if you're able to use your captain star and your star swings effectively, you can still score. For my preferences and for how I play, and this even went for normal baseball, I'm a big power guy, so I like to target something there. So again, Wario can hit it perfect and knock this one out of the park. If Blob can do it, especially double chemmed up, like I said, try to go get yourself a PM there, and you're going to be sitting in a pretty good spot. Those are kind of the things that'll be interesting, because it is really fascinating to look at these teams, to analyze this through the lens of players that haven't if folks that if you're just tuning in, we've been in the scene for what, around 5 years, I think, close for most of us being in the competitive scene, around 4 or 5 years.
3.5, 4, I
and
think now
playing
for
this-
me. I think you're
Yeah.
a little more the elder than me and Vic.
Yeah, and so it's just an interesting lens here, because I really think the difference maker for these clubs is going to be who can utilize the lower ends of their lineups, who can capitalize on the weaker defenses. Because, people might have played a lot. Pooh's played Philly a lot, but they've been able to draft, go back and forth. How are you going to navigate when you got to deal with Monty Mole on your team, or some of these guys like that? So, but any closing thoughts, guys, here before we wrap this up and get ready for the season starting next week? Again, folks, we'll do our best to keep helping. The main streamers will be your best resources for all that stuff. But please check out Project Rio if you're curious about wanting to watch some high level Mario baseball. On my channel right now, either on Twitch or youtube.com/BallTornBuddies. All of our big main streams from our biggest in-person event of the year just wrapped up. If you want to go check that out. Any closing thoughts, folks, for anything? But before I let you guys, as I say one more thing before I let you go, thank you so much for the opportunity from all of these streamers, and for Pooh as well, to be putting this together and to get us involved, because we really appreciate it. I see the chat has been really blowing up about how much work and effort we put into this. We love this stuff. We love showing off all the cool stuff that this game can do and what the scene has done. So we're really, really, really grateful for the opportunity to be able to show off the game in this light. And it's really thanks to these guys. I kind of just, I yammer. I'm the chatter. When you're talking about the Excel spreadsheets, the rules, the character pools, all that stuff, that's Gree, that's Vickless, that's Nooch there, our buddy from behind the scenes. These guys do such a great job. So I just wanted to shout out everybody, and I'll open the floor to you guys here before we close out.
Yeah, I like what Balter said there. I think one other thing we could touch on, I know it's late, we all got to go, so maybe very briefly, we could give maybe a piece of advice to the people still watching, on the streamers still watching that are participating. How do you want to, coach them up? If you could give them one piece of advice, I think I would start off, as Baltor said, with these lower tier characters. I want to see the streamers going in to either or like a single player game against computer, or going into some friendly matches against each other, turning on the easy batting in the game, which shows you where the sweet spot of the bat is, and then just learning how to use the bats. Each of the bats have different sweet spots, different distances from the characters, so there can be a little bit of a challenge there, switching between character to character. And so I think it would be good for them to try and know where their characters' bats are, and then definitely know the star swings of each of their characters and which ones they want to be utilizing and things like that.
Yeah, I'd probably just, similar to what you said with the bats, like Pianta and Wario are two characters that you can definitely just flip to lefty right away, and you're going to see a lot more success. I think the pulling and pushing of, pull and push hitters is crucial too. Heavies, you just want to try and hit, very early. And then with a lot of your like slappers like Wallow and Mad, you want to hit late. And then, obviously pitching is pretty tough to do. So yeah, shameless plug. You can go watch my pitching tutorial video. It's one of the only ones out there, and I put a lot of work into it, and there's a lot of good info out there. So definitely go check that out if you want to get really good at pitching as well.
Yeah, there's tons of resources. Please use what we have. Please ask us the questions there. We want to help make sure that you guys are locked in and loaded to have the best seasons possible for us here. But the Ass Blast, the All-Star Superstar Baseball League and Streamer Tournament coming your way starting next week on your favorite streamers platforms there. Who you rooting for? Who was your favorite team? Let us know. Fire it off in the comments and everything like that. You can find more of some great Mario Superstar Baseball content at youtube.com/BallTornBuddies. I actually play MattGree every week. We have a weekly series called The Rivalry, with the new episode dropping tomorrow for you both on both of our channels there. Vickless Falcon literally is the guy behind the scenes making sure that this league is staying on pod. He is a wonderful, fabulous commish. And join the Mario Superstar Baseball Discord. Come hang out with us. Again, there is a huge way scene. You can come play, come hang out with us, come join us. and we'd love to have you in the scene. Don't be intimidated. We all started somewhere, and if you're that person that we've heard a lot of when you say, "Oh, I played my brothers, I played my friends all the time. I always cleaned up against them," I'm gonna take it to the Discord stream. Come show it. Come prove it here. We'd love to have you in the scene. But folks, thank you so much again for making us part of your night. We are gonna get ready here to wrap things up. I got a great streamer for you guys to check out. His name is Smasher Magazine. If you love Melee, if you love retro games, and you love sweet mixing stuff, go drop in, say what's up from the stream that you came from before you raided. And folks, until next time, we'll catch you all on the flippity flip.